Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Carrie Wood. I am a mom of 2 children who have both struggled to learn to read, and an educator who has worked in the inner city in an elementary school teaching for more than a decade here in Winnipeg. When my son started kindergarten, already knowing most of his alphabet, I thought he would take off in reading. After all, we read to him since he was a baby, and he already knew the joy of a good book. As a teacher, I knew how important reading was, and I made it a priority. But by mid-grade 1, I was growing increasingly concerned. Still, people said things like, and I also thought things like, he's a boy, he has a late birthday, or just give him time. I felt guilty, wondering if I just hadn't found his Harry Potter, that one book that would help ignite his love of reading. As a mom and grade 1-2 teacher, I felt frustrated and ashamed that I couldn't help my own son, who basically had no barriers in front of him. I didn't understand why he was struggling or what to do. He worked so hard, and I felt like a failure. I eventually took a mental health leave from work for depression and anxiety. Looking back, I realized the system failed us both. Without early assessment, I was left guessing, and he was left waiting. Universal screening makes sure no parent or teacher sits in that same confusion again. In grade 3, my son was diagnosed with a specific learning disability in reading and written expression. I'm forever thankful to the school psychologist who said, "It's called dyslexia," because we didn't use that word in education. I was told that that didn't exist in Canada, that the DSFM calls it something else, or not DS, I got the wrong initials anyways. Woo, okay, back on track. So once he was diagnosed, I began learning everything I could and quickly realized how much I didn't know about how children learn to read. I feel strongly as a teacher I should have learned these things in university, but I didn't, even with a major in English. So that's when we began paying for private tutoring, so he could receive the explicit, systematic phonics instruction he needed all along. It wasn't a quick fix. For the last 4 years, he's been logging on for tutoring at 7:40 a.m. 4 days a week. A few years later, I was sure my daughter's story was going to be different. At the beginning of grade 1, there were no concerns. But by year's end, I paid to have her screened privately. That screening uncovered significant issues neither her teacher nor I had caught. My daughter now also attends online tutoring 4 mornings a week. What a privilege. My children's teachers, and I too, didn't know what we didn't know. We were doing our best with the tools we had. No blame, no shame, but it wasn't enough. If we had the knowledge and tools to provide the support my kids needed, we all would have used them without hesitation. Interventions are twice as effective before the end of grade 1, and we lost precious time. Our story didn't have to go that way. Every child has the right to be taught to read within our public school system. It shouldn't be something reserved for those who can advocate effectively, afford tutoring, and access private assessments, as my family has been fortunate to do. While these are my personal experiences, they reflect broader challenges that many students, families, and educators face in our schools. I'm here tonight as both a parent and a teacher to show my support for Bill 225 and to highlight why early screening and targeted support are so critical for all Manitoba children. You might think this bill isn't necessary, that educators know what to do, that each school division should be allowed to decide how they want to approach reading instruction and assessment. However, the challenge is that most of us have never been exposed to the vast body of scientific research related to how children learn to read. Instead, we have been told to focus on motivation, to promote the joy of reading, and that through doing this, kids will pick up those foundational skills. But here's the hard truth. Joy and a big book collection are not enough if students can't access the words on the page. There is nothing joyful about sitting in a classroom year after year, unable to read what everyone else is reading. There's no joy in guessing, in being left behind, or in thinking you're the problem when the system hasn't given you the support you need. So let's be clear, joy is not an excuse to avoid change. Joy is the reason for the change. Universal screening in kindergarten doesn't threaten critical thinking, agency, joyful learning, or personalized instruction. It protects them. It gives teachers the information they need to provide targeted support, ensuring that instruction is tailored to each student or each child. This is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's quite the opposite. At my school, over 40% of students are Indigenous. Many come to school carrying both the intergenerational trauma of residential schools and the ongoing legacy of systemic inequities. Unlike my children who have access to private tutoring and additional supports, the vast majority of students I work with don't have that luxury. This lack of support contributes to widening gaps in literacy and leads to higher rates of disengagement and dropout. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission calls on us to close educational gaps. Universal screening and evidence-based instructions are tools for change, so that every learner in our care, especially those historically served, can reach their full potential. The late Justice Murray Sinclair said, "Education got us into this mess, and education will get us out of it." By acting now through early screening, targeted support, and evidence-based instruction, we can change the trajectory of lives and ensure that education becomes the bridge to opportunity, equity, and justice for all students. Bill 225 represents a turning point, an opportunity to establish early screening as a right for every child. I believe it strengthens the NDP's current initiative by mandating screening starting in kindergarten. This ensures students are identified early, allowing the intervention to begin when it's most effective. The bill states that the school board must ensure that further assessments and other specialized resources are allocated based on the results of the screening. That means schools won't just be identifying students who are struggling, they'll be required to respond. Amending the Manitoba Public School Act would make this commitment permanent, ensuring that screening isn't just optional or temporary. It's important, as many other people have said here tonight, to remember passing of Bill 225 is only the start. It must be paired with action from all levels, including universities. It can only succeed if teachers are fully supported by the system, not left to figure it out on their own. Teachers need training, guidance, and resources to turn screening data into action so that every child succeeds. We have the research, we have the evidence. What we need now is the courage to act. It was promising to see the unanimous vote to bring Bill 225 to committees. My husband and children were there with me that day, and I was proud they could see political leaders from across parties do the right thing. Please pass Bill 225 and give every child in Manitoba the right to read. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. Emily Lamoureux.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, and thank you, Ms. Woods, for your presentation. Again, more of a comment. I want to say sorry for the experience that you've had within our education system. It sounds like it did fail you on many accounts, and I'm glad that you're here tonight advocating for a better education system. You raised a very important point that universal screening needs to be made available to everyone, no matter of one's socioeconomic background, no matter where you live here in Manitoba, and that's what this legislation does. I believe that if the government wants to demonstrate what they say they are going to do, they need to pass this legislation so that it is tangible, so that it is a real commitment and not just words that can be easily taken back, and that it is compared to other provinces where it is in fact legislated.
Thank you, Emily Lamoureux. Ms. Wood.
Was there a question? Oh, thank goodness I blacked out. We're good. Oh, okay. I'm good.
Emily
Actually,
Cross.
wait, can I swoop?
You can respond if you'd like. Yeah.
I just want to say one thing about teachers is that they're really, really incredible. I am the past president of the Manitoba Reading Association, and the Manitoba Reading Association and the Manitoba Council of Reading Clinicians have come together to host a 9-part PD series called Monthly Meetups, Practical Conversations on Screening in Early Literacy. These are happening after school. We thought we would have like 10 people sign up, and we were like excited for that. We're at 145. Teachers want this information, and many are really wishing they gotten in university. Thank you.
Minister Schmidt.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you very much for your presentation, Mrs. Wood. Carrie, it's very nice to see you again. I just really appreciate your advocacy, and it's voices like yours is the reason why our government in April implemented a universal screener. So I just want to thank you for sharing your story. It was a real pleasure to get to meet with you in my office quite recently, and you shared your experience as a teacher, but also as a parent, and we have some similarities in that regard. So I just wanted to thank you very much for bringing your voice forward and for being one of the voices that has contributed to the action that our government has taken.
Ms. Wood, would you like to respond to that?
I don't know if you had to be here tonight or if it was a choice, but thank you so much for being here tonight. That shows the commitment and that you're here and you're wanting to learn and be open. So thank you very much.
Yes, Emily Cook.
Thank you, Carrie, for coming. You've been so generous with your time and your expertise, by the way. I know you've met with me, you've met with members of my caucus, you've clearly met with the minister and all the work that you've done with our colleague from Tyndall Park. So thank you for that. It is making a difference. You've seen that here tonight. I just wanted to echo something that you said and what my colleague said about the importance of legislating this and making that firm commitment that can't be changed on a whim. I think it's really important that we get this bill passed tonight. Thank you.
Ms. Wood?
I agree. I agree.
Any further questions? Yeah, Emily Cross.
I'll try and say this really quickly. Thank you for sharing your story. My story is just like yours. I have 3 children. My 2 daughters, very successful, high achieving, no trouble in school. My son, 2 rounds of reading recovery, still struggled right through high school, tried university, hated it. I became a teacher, and I sat in the classroom at the beginning kind of going, why didn't they teach me how to teach kids how to read? Why didn't I have that skill? And so I'm asking, hopefully, respectfully, that the work that you do with your organization and your work as a teacher, please help advocate to post-secondaries to start, training teachers so that we have the tools to give kids what they need.
Thank you. Ms. Wood?
I am absolutely trying. The universities are part of the big system, and some of the beliefs are strong. I know there was an open letter sent to Minister Schmidt to many other people, and there's lots actually I agreed with in the letter. Things like waiting on the curriculum until after the MHRC report. I agreed on that. Knowing who wrote the curriculum, I agreed on that. But at the end, they said the MHRC report was initiated by a highly organized lobby group.
I'm very sorry to interrupt you, Ms. Woods, just for a moment. Is there leave for her to finish her answer? Yes, thank you. Procedural, please go ahead, sorry.
Thank you, sorry. By a highly organized lobby group. And then they proceeded to say basically why things should stay the same and stay status quo. They're reluctant to change. And that's part of the problem here, is that the system at the very top where teachers get their training, those leaders are not supporting them in the way that we're asking to be supported. They're saying, no, you're okay. And that's a problem. So I'm right there with you with the universities. I'm very hopeful, because we're all good people and we want to do the right thing.
Thanks so much for your answer, Ms. Woods, and for the presentation.